Empathy creates a stronger connection and a sense of belonging. Again, um, on the journey of self love, when you come to a place in your life where you realize this is who you are, you're not really living life to please others. You're not really living life to make others happy. It starts with making yourself happy because ultimately you can't show that true authentic love to others until you can show it to yourself. Another benefit of self-love is self-productivity, and there's four components. When we are in a space of self-love, we enjoy seeing other people succeed. We don't have that hater rate. We feel authentic joy when they have things positive happen. Um, Another productivity component is having your own mastery of experiences. So, for example, if someone comes to you seeking advice because they've known you've gone through certain things, through your self love endeavors, you can share experiences that can make the experience easier for someone else. Being affirmed by others. Again, when people know that you've gone through the fire, when people know that you've had kind of a hard time, but you come out smelling like a new rose on the other end, people talk about you. And they say, hey, that guy went through this, but he still managed to have A, B, and C in his life. All of that gears and stems from self love. The last feeling is feeling good about ourselves and our capabilities. When you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on the ground and you realize that A, you're a good person, that you're smart, that you bring some valuable skills and attributes to the table, um, that helps you to feel good about yourself. And it also helps you feel good about the things that you're capable of doing. When our self love is high, we're better able to take on new things. When you're stressed out, you want to do as little as possible, but when we're feeling good about ourselves, we're willing to take those risks. We're willing to dive into some new adventures, maybe with new people or new endeavors. Self trust and faith in our abilities help us achieve our goals, challenging ourselves to live our best lives. Another benefit of self love is setting boundaries. And a key part of self love is knowing what to give your energy to and what doesn't deserve your energy and differentiating between the two. You might draw a line at how others talk to you or treat you. If a person talks to you kind of sideways, you have a choice to accept it or not. If you choose to not accept it, you have set up a boundary to let people know that you only expect to be spoken to a certain way. And should that person decide to cross that line, you have a choice to either accept that behavior or remove yourself from that behavior. But when you find self love, you're going to choose you over that behavior because ultimately it's going to bring you down. Um, so setting emotional boundaries can help you increase your feelings of self respect and self compassion. So be sure to always protect your emotional space and also protect your physical space. I had a situation, not too long ago where I was talking to somebody and they got too close, that personal space, and I kind of stepped back and they stepped closer. And, finally I said, hey, I can hear you. We can have our conversation, but I prefer to have a little bit of distance in between, our space when we're having this conversation. So physical space is very important. Another thing is separating your thoughts and feelings and needs from those of others. Helping others can be generous and gratifying, but so many times in adult life, we end up putting more energy into others than we do into ourselves. And because we get caught up in that cycle, we kind of toss our own selves to the back burner. And we wake up one day wondering, why do we feel so unappreciated? Why do we feel so unloved? Why do we feel so negative? And then that self-love factor that we're talking about today is so pushed down so far because your energies are devoted to your wife, to your husband, to your kids, to your parents, to whoever, and you forget about you. in this journey of self-love, we highly, highly encourage you to continue to think about, making yourself better and giving yourself the grace to be the best you that you can be. Setting healthy boundaries, though, that define what you can and can't take on can benefit your well-being. So in life, sometimes we bite off more than we can chew and end up having a negative outcome because we took on too much. Well, when we self-love ourselves, we realize what capacities we can operate at an optimal level. We recognize how much we can take on and usually have success as long as we don't try to do too much. Another thing that we look at in terms of the boundary thing is not feeling responsible for the happiness of others. First of all, attempting to control others' emotions or be responsible for their happiness is very, very unhealthy. Setting boundaries may show you that you're not responsible for how others move. So if you're associated with a person who constantly does wrong things and you tell them over and over again, hey, you might not want to do this because it's a bad idea, you can't feel responsible because of other people's actions. It can help you release you from any guilt that comes from feeling your obligation to fulfill the needs of other people. The boundary situation also helps you enrich your relationships. If you set healthy boundaries in a relationship, you may find you can free yourself of resentment and insecurity. So, whatever relationship we're talking about, whether it's a relationship at home, a relationship with a potential new partner, a relationship on the job, as long as you're crystal clear on what you will accept and what you don't accept, when that person crosses the line, they will realize that you told them. And again, you have a choice to accept that behavior or not. When you feel strong, safe, and independent, you may be able to form healthier attachments and find happier connections with others. So, again, inner strength, a sense of independence, and really going into any relationship with a healthier mindset will create healthier attachments and happier connections moving forward. In terms of boundaries, protecting your valuable time. Time is something that we can't get back. By setting up boundaries, you have more time to spend on what you value. You have that choice to invest energy in situations that's going to better your life, or you have the choice to remove yourself from situations that are not going to better your life. By setting boundaries, you have an idea of what tasks you need to complete and also a timeline and when you can complete them. And by setting boundaries, you set boundaries with the people that are in your life and the people that you love. And again, if those boundaries are crossed and it puts you in an unhealthy place, then you have to reevaluate those relationships. In terms of boundary setting, having a strong sense of identity. Without boundaries, you lose your sense of self. If you allow people to keep stepping on you, you really lose yourself in the shuffle of who you are as a person. For instance, you might be so busy trying to help others, you're busy trying to please others or meet others' needs that your own identity, your own goals, or your own needs are compromised. And again, being a parent, maybe being a spouse, sometimes you put other people's needs ahead of your own, and that's not a bad thing. But it becomes a bad thing when it starts to affect who you are as a person. Setting boundaries can help you find yourself and be true to yourself, and we deserve to live our lives with that at the very least. Making your needs as important as others. Now, this characteristic is definitely not being selfish. You can help others and be loyal without neglecting your own needs. The airline safety message that you get every time you take a flight is you get your oxygen mask on first before assisting others. Sometimes, folks, you have to put you first. Now, if you're around people that says, well, you're being selfish for putting yourself first, ask yourself this question: how often do you put yourself at the forefront? How often do you take the energy to invest into you? How often do you do something nice for yourself or give yourself an opportunity for self-growth and self-love and build that energy where you like yourself? If you are involved with people who have a problem with that, then again, reevaluate those people and where they are in your life. Strengthen yourself and meet your needs before assisting those you love to ensure you have the energy to do so. Make sure that you are on point. If you are only 50% and someone is reaching out for help from you, if you're not at your best, how good is your help going to be? So you got to make sure that you're on point. Again, we're sitting here talking about self-love, but ultimately we're talking about knowing when to put yourself first. In terms of boundaries, we need to prevent future conflicts. You may proactively prevent future conflicts when you establish healthy, clear boundaries. Always respect your boundaries and expect others to respect them as well. If they don't, then let them go. Conflicts can be avoided if your boundaries are clear. Again, if a person has a problem with you and they come and speak to you in a disrespectful way, chances are nothing is going to get accomplished. There's going to be more frustration, and there's going to be more of a divide in that relationship. But if a person approaches you and speaks to you respectfully, comes to you kind of on the adult mode in terms of, how to really communicate, the biggest thing is knowing that what you will accept and what you won't accept. Conflict can be avoided if your boundaries are set clear. Another benefit of boundaries is developing independence. With boundaries, you can strengthen your sense of independence. You may have strong connections with others, but separate yourself from unhealthy habits, behaviors, or people who make you feel like you are losing your independence. You may feel more self-confident, more resilient, and in control over who you are and what you want to be in your life. Is there anything wrong with being independent? Absolutely not. Being independent shows that you can take care of yourself, that you can manage and maneuver in this crazy world that we live in. And the biggest thing I need you guys to understand that all of these factors, all of these characteristics that we talked about or that we're talking about today in terms of self-love is not selfish. You deserve to live the best possible life that you have available to you. You deserve to have greatness. You deserve to have love. You deserve to have all the prosperity that your life is destined to have. But until you start loving yourself and putting yourself first and putting value on your life, those things are going to be very difficult to achieve, and that's going to be kind of an uphill battle. So let's look at some signs of the lack of self-love. What are some of the things that keep you from getting the things that you deserve and want out of life? First of all, number one is perfectionism and the fear of failure. Now, being perfect is something that I guess is a character flaw that I've always had. I always wanted to do everything perfect. And when I fell short, I would find ways to beat myself up. If this is a part of your personality, realize that there is no one perfect in this world except for God himself. So give yourself a little bit of grace. A lot of times people say that they have the fear of failure. Well, I tell you what, you fail when you don't try. The fear of failure is one thing that, as you get older, you hear people talk and talk, especially talking to the youth. You hear older guys talk about, well, when I was your age, I should have did this, that, and the third. Well, that's the fear of failure. If you do fail, then you should take something away from the failures and get up and try again. Another sign of the lack of self-love is avoidance of self-care and the neglect of personal needs. Again, for the last 25 minutes, we've been talking about putting yourself first. when you don't like yourself, when your self-esteem is low, when you're not feeling good about who you are as a person, we start to neglect ourselves. Have you ever seen like a friend, somebody that used to look real good back in the day, and you don't see them for a number of years, and you see them, wow, they look bad, they put on weight, or they look unhealthy? That's because they don't love themselves. That's because they've got into this rut as to where they don't see any value in who they are as people. So in order to get out of this funk, don't forget to put that self-care into yourself, and don't neglect your personal needs. Another sign of self or lack of self-love is tolerating toxic or abusive relationships. It's never okay for somebody to make you feel less than. If you are involved in a relationship that is bringing you down, that constantly leaves you drained, that is toxic in every way, shape, and form, the way that they talk to you, the way that you talk to them, the way that you interact. And if it becomes abusive where, there's physical abuse or mental abuse, these are signs of the lack of self-love. People that are stuck in these scenarios think that they can't do any better, so they end up staying in those situations and ultimately harming themselves even more. Another sign of self-love is difficulty telling people no, and also overcommitting. No means no. If there's something that you are not able to do, if there's something that you're not able to accomplish, if there's something that you're not comfortable about doing, there is nothing wrong with telling that person no. And also be sure not to tell everybody yes, because that's who you are as a person. I was a people pleaser at one point in my life, and I would try to do everything for everybody. But what I found is that the more I tried to do for everybody, the less I was really doing for anybody. So don't be afraid to say no, and don't overcommit yourself. Another sign of the lack of self-love is comparing yourself to other people unfavorably. Your life isn't the same life as your neighbor, as your brother, as your sister. We sometimes live our lives and evaluate, how other people's lives are going, and then we feel bad within ourselves because we're not catching that break or catching the luck that someone else has. And we also may turn into a hater in certain regards where we say, well, hey, what they do to deserve to get that promotion, what they do to deserve to get that new car or new home, and I work just as hard, and you have this negative self-talk that goes on in your life, and sometimes you even say that stuff to other people. Well, that hater energy, being a hater, is a sign of the lack of self-love that you feel within yourself. Negative self-talk and constant self-criticism. You got to give yourself some grace, and you got to give yourself an opportunity to realize that sometimes things aren't going to always work out in your favor. But because they don't, doesn't mean that you quit. It means that you dig deeper and you keep going even harder. And stop telling yourself negative things. Stop telling yourself what a horrible person you are, or how dumb you may feel. Those things really carry a huge effect on how we move and operate on a day-to-day basis. Another sign of the lack of self-love is the difficulty of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. Again, we spent some time talking about boundaries. If people in your life are not elevating, if they're putting you down and not raising you up, if they're, being dream killers and telling you that you can't do this, that, and the third, then it's probably best to cut those people off, because if you truly are on a road to growth, if you're truly trying to be better as a person, you need as much positive energy around you as possible. Another sign of the lack of self-love is seeking external validation and approval constantly. You see a lot of people on social media who, post pictures. You see a lot of attractive women posting pictures and really in their feelings if they don't get X amount of views or X amount of likes. That's the lack of self-love. They're looking for someone else to add value to them, where it's better to look inside yourself and add value to yourself than seeking that value from strangers or from other people. Another sign of the lack of self-love is engaging in self-sabotaging behavior. Now, in life, I know that we sometimes self-sabotage. Sometimes we go into a scenario and we don't feel necessarily comfortable or secure about a subject or about something that we're talking about, and so we do everything we can to fail. That self-sabotaging behavior is one of those things that holds you back, that keeps you from growth, and that keeps you from being the best person that you can possibly be. And then finally, another sign of the lack of self-love is chronic feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. One way to lift up your self-esteem is to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are a good person, that you stand for something righteous, that you want good things to happen, and that you want good people in your life. This is a habit that I encourage you to adopt on a daily basis, and over time, your brain is going to start to believe that, and you're going to find that you're going to move a little bit differently. So low self-esteem and the chronic feeling of inadequacy are definitely signs of the lack of self-love. With that being said, we're going to take a break here for a minute and pay a couple bills, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on the practice of self-love. We'll be right back.
That's just how we roll.
Let me tell you who I'm rolling with. I am rolling with the Dot Experiment. I don't know if you ever heard of them before, but the Dot Experiment is here to help you with all your cell phone and computer needs. The Dot Experiment is here for all your tech, all your software problems, whether it's the storage full, your laptop won't boot, or you're just tired of your current setup, or you're just looking for tech support. The Dot Experiment is the only way to go. Call them today, 404-259-1343, or you can email them at support@thedotexperiment.com for a free consultation. Don't waste your money buying tech stuff and tech software that you don't understand and don't know how to use. Contact the Dot Experiment, the professionals in fixing all your stuff, man. So before you buy that cell phone, before you get that computer, contact the Dot Experiment. It's the only way to go. I'm telling you, that's how we roll it over here.
Tonight.
Give it to me, do it to me, give it to me. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. The way you make me.
Do you like music like this? That's right, I'm asking you. Do you like music like this? Then why have you not been to Sophisticated Saturday as yet? That's right, each and every third Saturday of the month, we call it Sophisticated Saturdays. Where we keep it at? Caribbeanlifetv Studios. 6254 Memorial Drive is the only place to be each and every third Saturday of the month. So if you want to celebrate your birthday, if you just want to come hang out and have some fun with grown people having big fun, Sophisticated Saturdays is the only place to be. It's brought to you by yours truly, DJ Reds, and my boy, Mr. B. Sophisticated Saturdays, every third Saturday of the month, 6254 Memorial Drive is where the grown people go and have good, clean fun. Every third Saturday of the month, man. The way you make me feel, I'm just going to have fun. I'll see you there. Sophisticated Saturdays. I got you. It's all about Caribbean International Shipping. That's right. Do you need more information on shipping your items to the U.S., Southeast region, or to the Caribbean? Have you ever heard of Caribbean International Shipping? You shop, they pack, and ship. They also offer residential pickup services. Support our business, like, share, and call. For your barrel shippings, let us know. The number to call is 470-718-9675 on WhatsApp or 770-323-1111. Caribbean International Shipping, the only way to send your stuff to the islands.
And we are back. Thank you for returning. So during the break, I got a message from someone who said I need to pick up the energy. One thing about that, I can tell you the lack of self-love can drain your energy. And going over those notes, I apologize if my energy level was low, but that's what happens when you're in a low energy situation. When you start thinking about it, when you start to internalize it, it kind of affects the way that you feel. So I'm going to pick it up because really, in order to love, have self-love, you got to have that energy going at all times. And as a person who's in a motivational space, hey man, I'm learning as I go as well. It's an ongoing thing. So what we want to try to do is make sure that energy is always good, that is high. And I think Lauren's about to put my theme song on. And so forgive me if I decide to sing, but good energy is something that we need in our lives. So yeah, so as we move forward in our discussion of self-love, 8 ways to practice self-love. The first way to look into doing this is to know yourself. There's nothing wrong with me time. Now, true self-care and self-love is about making investments into yourself that have nothing to do with a shopping cart. So basically, what that means for me, and I like to golf. So even though I'm not very good, when I'm out in that space, there's a lot of positive dynamics that are happening in that area. Number one, I'm out in the air. I'm looking at the scenery. I'm trying to hit this ball and keep it straight. I'm competing against my son. We're talking trash with each other, so there's a happy dynamic going on there. I'm beating myself up because I think I should be better than I am, but because I don't practice enough, I know there's no way for me to be as good as I want to be. But that's how I take care of myself. I get out there on the golf course. I enjoy the time out there with my son playing, or with a couple of my other buddies, Bert and Shot. We went out a few weeks ago and played, and that was a good time, fellowshipping with those guys. No one has the right answer to what me time looks like. So maybe golf isn't your thing. Maybe you like to paint. Maybe you like to garden. Maybe you like to go for walks. Make sure to take some time to invest into that me time. You deserve that me time. It helps you to unplug. It helps you to recalibrate, and it helps you to face the other people in your life with a new energy, with a new sense of strength and energy. Thinking of getting to know yourself like starting a new relationship. Find out, if you don't know what you like, try some new things. Just like when you meet that new girl or you meet that new guy, you get outside your comfort zone sometimes and you try some new things. Don't be afraid to do that. That sense of curious engagement is a great foundation for learning to love yourself. One way to get to that journey of self-love is maybe you want to start a journal. Maybe you want to take up a new hobby or take yourself out on a date. I've dated myself, for a few years. I wanted to get to know myself better. I wanted to get to know, what makes me tick. And that might sound crazy to say that you date yourself, but you can't be good to another person unless you start being good to yourself. So in that time when I was quote unquote dating myself, I found out and learned more about what made me tick as a person, and it helped me face other relationships in a better mindset, in a better mind space. Build self-care routines. Learning how to take care of yourself means building habits that support your well-being. Always, always, always give yourself time for mini resets, whether it's once a week, twice a week, maybe 5 minutes a day. Take that time to, unplug from the world, get back to who you are, and, give yourself some self-care. Even if you have to go, to the deepest degree, create a self-care plan for yourself. From 11 to 12, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to eat, my favorite meal, or, dedicate some time to your growth. Dedicate to some time for your excellence. Build self-care routines is an essential and proactive approach to nurturing your own well-being. No two self-care plans are identical. Identify activities that bring you joy, bring you relaxation, and a sense of fulfillment. So playing golf with my son, that's one way that, I get my joy, I get my relaxation, and I get my fulfillment. I haven't beat him yet this year. I think that'll be another sense of pride that I'll feel when I finally put a dub in the win column. But putting winning aside, just being with that person and enjoying that activity, does my mind and does my life great good. Quick morning stretches or medication, or even to a larger degree, getting up, going to the gym, working out, putting or doing something for your body. Those are effective ways for you to show yourself some self-love. Schedule dedicated time for these activities that rejuvenate your mind, your body, and your spirit. As we always say, if your mind, your body, and spirit aren't right, the rest of your life isn't going to be right. So let's make that a priority. Another thing that we need to focus on is prioritizing self-compassion. Embrace the concept of self-compassion, which entails treating yourself with the same kindness and empathy you would offer to a friend or a family member. During moments of self-doubt, failure, adversity, those are the times where you really need to give yourself that self-compassion. We all self-doubt ourselves. We've all felt like failures at different times, and we certainly all have faced and will continue to face adversity. When we are in those spaces, though, folks, make sure to give yourself some grace and think through what's really going on before you self-sabotage and beat yourself up. Acknowledge that everyone makes mistakes and encounters setbacks. It's a natural part of being human. And on the fact of making mistakes, obviously we are not perfect. No one in this world is perfect. But when a person does make a mistake, you have the ability to forgive, and you also have the ability to, decide whether that mistake is something that you can live with or whether you can't live with it. If you decide that you can live with it, then, when that mistake happens again, how do you really feel? So is that compassion level going to be as high? If that mistake is something that you can't get by and something that really rocks you to the core, you have to give yourself some self-compassion to realize what is healthy and what isn't healthy for your own well-being. Resist the urge to criticize or to blame yourself. I'm good at blaming myself for different circumstances. People may not know that about me, but I blame or criticize myself more than what's healthy. And I'm sure there's other people that live their lives like that as well. Again, prioritize self-compassion. Offer words of encouragement and comfort, recognizing that you deserve support and understanding. Practice self-compassion. Practice self-talk, challenging negative thoughts and replacing them and affirming them with positive, nurturing statements. So when something negative pops into your head, try to replace that with something good, even if you got to play a mental game with yourself. Self-compassion is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful tool for building resilience and fortifying your emotional well-being. By treating yourself with kindness and understanding, you deepen the roots of self-love and create a foundation for enduring self-acceptance. Nurture positive self-talk and affirmations. The way you speak to yourself significantly influences your self-perception and your overall well-being. The way you speak to yourself. The question you have to internally ask yourself, do you speak to others the way that you speak to yourself? In other words, are you harsh on people? Do you say unkind things? Do you say mean things to put other people down? If that is you, then, we need to do some self-evaluation and change that. But if you are the type of person that says really harsh or mean things to yourself and you're in a space where you're constantly beating yourself up, you really need to find a way to get out of that mindset. By consciously choosing and uplifting and empowering and using empowering language, you can reshape your internal dialogue and foster a more positive self-image. Start by identifying areas of self-criticism or negative self-talk. So let's say, for example, I have a friend at work the other day was beating herself up because of her weight. And so we kind of got into a conversation about what are you doing to, offset the weight? Are you exercising? She was saying no. I was like, are you eating late at night? She said yes. So all of the things that she said that she was doing was contributing to that weight issue. So instead of being mean and being a jerk about it, the suggestion that I had given her was, let's go for a walk to the back office and let's get some steps in. And, you know, we ended up doing that at the job one day, and she told me a couple days later, now she goes for walks, and she's feeling better. So just by, you know, offering a sense of positive action to another person can help pick them up. And now, you know, I got a text from her this morning how it has changed her diet, how she's eating more fruits, more salads, and taking a more health conscious approach to how she's going to battle this weight issue that she's dealing with. And I have to say kudos for that. You know, take advantage of being your best self. And it's really a heartwarming thing to know that, you know, I had an impact on helping that person become more healthy. For example, if you catch yourself thinking you can't do something, counter it with why you can do something. Learn to grow through these experiences day in and day out. Even if you have to, create a list of personalized affirmations that resonate with you and align with your goals. Consistent practice will help you rewire your brain to embrace a more positive and self-affirming mindset. Surround yourself with positive influences, whether through supportive friends, motivational literature, or even through just a thought. If you don't have the outlets, you know, check out some of the things that we talk about on social media. You can find me on TikTok at Just a Thought, JeffreySpeaks. We drop, you know, messages twice a week, and then we put up daily quotes and affirmations to help you kind of maneuver through life. So, you know, check it out on TikTok if you don't have any other sources to go to. Another thing is to embrace your uniqueness. Celebrating your individuality is a powerful way to practice self-love. Take the time to identify and appreciate your strengths, your quirks, and your idiosyncrasies. Start by making a list of the qualities that set you apart from others. Instead of comparing yourself to others, recognize that your uniqueness adds depth and richness to the tapestry of the human experience. Expression yourself authentically, whether through your style, through your creative pursuit, music, art, or the way you communicate, is one sign or one valuable commodity of self-love. I went to high school with a young lady who, back in the 80s, she dressed like a flower child. She always had, you know, these weird colors on, and she really stood out. And people used to make a lot of fun of her in high school. And, you know, fast forward to about 2 or 3 days ago, she hit me up on social media. And, you know, we weren't really friends back in the day, but we had a pretty good conversation. And I found out that she opened up a clothing consignment shop with clothes that were, you know, based off of the 70s and 80s. And apparently that's a style. Some people like to wear those types of things. And she told me how much money she was making, you know, with that shop, just because of her, you know, different style. So if you're the type of person who doesn't meet, you know, typical norms, that's okay. That's a part of your individuality, and love that part of your personality. Love who you are in terms of being that type of person. Practice gratitude for your body. Cultivating self-love involves fostering a positive and appreciative relationship with your body. Instead of fixating on the perceived flaws or the societal ideas, focus on expressing gratitude for the incredible capabilities and functions of your body. First of all, I don't like my stomach, but you know what? My heart works, I can hear well, I can see pretty good with these glasses. I am thankful to the Lord above for what I do have. The things that I need to improve or want to improve, that's going to take effort on my part. That's going to take effort on your part. So if you see something physically that you don't like, you're going to have to put that energy into doing it. And every push-up you do, every setup you do is just an example of that self-love that you're giving back to yourself. I had mentioned writing down, you know, some of your thoughts and your feelings in a journal, specifically about your body. You might want to write a few notes. Today I did, you know, X amount of push-ups. My arms hurt. You know, keep track of that. Every, you know, Like when you work out and you wake up the next morning and you're sore and your body feels like it's in knots, that's your body's way of telling you that what you did was a good thing and to keep up that practice. And the more you do it, the more you push yourself, the stronger your muscles get, the stronger your body gets. But each day, write down 3 things you appreciate about your physical self. Also, engage in activities that promote body positivity and self-acceptance. Now, there's nothing wrong with being big or being heavy set, but it's all in how you wear your clothes. I saw a lady the other day in Walmart who had on an outfit that wasn't very flattering to her body. But, you know, through her self-love, she thought she looked good. Who am I to question that? As long as you're okay inside your own mental, what other people's thoughts of you really doesn't matter. Set and enforce healthy boundaries. Again, we circle back to that. Boundaries are the key to self-love. Establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries is a crucial aspect of self-love. Boundaries serve as a protective barrier, and by clearly defining and communicating your limits to others, you create a space where self-respect and self-care can thrive. Reflect on your personal and emotional boundaries. Identify situations, identify relationships or activities that drain your energy or compromise your mental health. If it doesn't do you any good, you can't have that in your life. Once recognized, take intentional steps to set those boundaries in those areas. This may involve communicating your needs assertively. It also saying no when necessary or creating physical and emotional space when required. Enforcing boundaries requires consistency. So you can't have a boundary today and expect people to take you seriously if you revert back to the old behavior. Recognize and prioritize your well-being is an essential act of self-love, and establishing boundaries is a tangible way to demonstrate this commitment. Surround yourself with individuals who respect and support your boundaries. So with that being said, it sounds like a lot of work when it comes to self-love, but self-love is really a revolution. It's a reinvention. It's an opportunity for regrowth. As we get ready to get out of here today, what we want to leave you with in terms of thoughts is, number one, you are worth it. You're an awesome person. You have awesome skills. You have a lot of good things to bring to the table. If I can believe it, you need to believe it within yourself. Another thing to recognize about who we are as people is embrace your uniqueness, for real. If you are not a run-of-the-mill person, that doesn't make you a bad person. If you have special skills, special abilities that some people may consider weird or out of the box, that doesn't make you a bad person. Love, embrace those things. Another thing as we recap, prioritize self-compassion. Give yourself some grace. Cut yourself some slack. Stop beating yourself up. Stop telling yourself all of these negative things that bring you down. God knows we live in a world where, we have relationships or people in our lives that may drain us. It's one thing to be drained by other people, but it's another thing when you're draining yourself. So, give yourself a little bit of grace and learn to find some self-compassion. Build your self-care routines. Remember, it's nothing wrong with taking some me time. It's nothing wrong with scheduling some time for you to get out and do the things that you love. It's nothing wrong with, buying yourself a new outfit or taking yourself out to dinner or maybe getting a massage. Find whatever it is that makes you feel good. Do it, and do it as often as you can. Also, to get down and dirty with learning who you are as a person. If it takes even, disconnecting yourself from certain people in order for you to become your best self, I encourage you to really do that, because you're no good to anybody if you're not good within your own brain and within your own mind. Get rid of the characteristics of the lack of self-love. Stop thinking that you're perfect. Stop having that fear of failure. Give yourself some self-care. Attend to your personal needs. Do not tolerate toxic relationships or toxic behavior. Tell people no when you need to tell them no. Don't tell everybody yes because that's who you've been. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop telling yourself negative things. Difficult settings, difficult boundaries, surround yourself with energy that's going to lift you up. Stop seeking external validation. No one is going to love you the way that you love you. It starts with you. Engage or stop engaging in self-sabotaging behavior. Put your best foot forward in everything that you do. And stop trying to, get rid of the inadequate feelings, the self-esteem thing. If you don't know how to do that, please, please, please seek out some help. Go online. There's a lot of sources out there to help you overcome these self-esteem issues because you are a wonderful person. You are a great person. So we're gonna venture into our final thoughts today. Our final just a thought. Today, I want to talk about a revolution of self-love. You see, we live in a world that tells us to put others first, to chase perfection. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the way. It's time we put our own love first. Loving yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's about knowing you're worthy just as you are. It's about setting them boundaries because you know your value. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing a strong, beautiful, one-of-a-kind person. That's you. That's me. That's us. It's about thanking your body for all it does by treating yourself with kindness. It's about building them self-care habits that make your soul sing. It's about getting to know yourself, your passions, what makes you tick. Loving yourself is a journey, and it takes courage. But the more you love you, the more love you'll have to give. The more you will live a life that's true to you. So let's rise up, let's choose self-love, and let's start a revolution. Because when we love ourselves, that's when we can change the world. And as we're about to get out of here, one note that I want to leave with you is it's impossible to be your best self if you are so hard on yourself. It's impossible to love others the way that they need to be loved if you question how much you love yourself internally. So I encourage you this week to practice, the spirit of self-love. Do something for yourself. Pick yourself up every day. It doesn't have to be for hours, but give yourself enough time to recognize and realize that you're a wonderful person. You're a beautiful spirit. And God does not make imperfection. You're perfect in the ways that God intended you to be perfect. Love yourself. Love each other. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. And we will catch you next week here on Just a Thought, same time, same channel. Again, peace, love, and happiness. And again, one final thought to our people in the Caribbean who went through the hurricane. Make sure to go over to this website. Let me pull it up real quick. If you have a couple dollars to send to the help relief fund, any action that you can give to those people will be an extensive help to help them get back on their feet and help build that community back up. That website again is pay.gov.gd. That's pay.gov.gd. We'll see you next week. Again, good energy, high frequency, positive vibes. Keep your head up, and let's face this world with our best selves. We'll catch you next week.
It's all connected, energy can never die. Born in the dark, but I chose to be the light. They gave me money, I got out your evil light. Where's every advice, bitch, don't kill me.